international. Without context, those three words sound like a bland, nondescript business park somewhere in the Midlands. But when you add some context and put that on the back of a car like this, everything gets a little bit special. Hello and welcome to the 2003 Subaru Impreza WRX STi PPP. That's right, you join me on a wet and grizzly day, Halloween in fact, to have a look at this. It's, as I say, a 2004 Subaru Impreza WRX STi PPP, but more on that last bit later. Today, we're going to have a look inside and out, under the bonnet, and rather luckily, we're going to get it out on the road. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this car, what makes it special, and then what I think. So let's crack on. Those of you who have spent your Sundays sat on the sofa watching the World Rally Championships, or those who are familiar with the works of Colin McRae, will be rather familiar with the thing behind me already, but allow me to indulge you anyway. There's not a great deal to talk about with the Subaru Impreza in its standard form. It was the marque's most successful model without a doubt, and was pretty much a nondescript family car to an extent. You could get it in a standard saloon or an estate, and there were a few different trim levels. Things of that nature, think Ford Mondeo, maybe a little bit smaller. It was a run-of-the-mill practical car with a rather interesting engine setup, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. What makes this particular car so special, and those that you'll be ever so familiar with in this iconic blue and gold livery, is those 6 important letters on the back of the boot: WRX STi. You see, Subaru have always had an uncanny knack for being ever so good at going sideways in the dirt and the gravel, also known as rally driving. As such, they needed a car that reflected that, something they could homologate to use in the World Rally Championships, and thus the Subaru WRX STi was born. Subaru took the basis of their Impreza and turned everything right the way up to 11. Things were stiffer, more aggressive, more raw, and effortlessly more fun to drive. It was a dynamic success, and one of the most iconic cars was born as a result. A true poster child, especially in this iconic World Rally blue over gold colour scheme. Now, there are a few different generations of Impreza WRX STIs spanning from 94 right the way up until 2014 in one form or another. This particular car is a second generation, which was manufactured from 2000 all the way up to 2008. The second generation Impreza took the successes of the first gen and ran with them. Styling was altered and, in my opinion, perfected. I think this, the second generation Impreza, is the characteristic and perfect looking example of the breed. But it wasn't just aesthetics that were changed. Driver engagement was improved too. The 5-speed manual gearbox, which had a tendency to explode, so to speak, was ditched in favour of a far more fitting 6-speed manual gearbox. And on top of that, stiffness overall was improved by about 75%, really maximising driver engagement. This particular car is a WRX STi second generation blob-eye, as I've said. But I also said PPP right at the beginning, if you remember. Now, what's that? Well, that is the Prodrive Performance Pack. Now, the chances are, if you're watching this video, you are already familiar with the name Prodrive. But in case you're not, I'll explain in brief. Prodrive have been a legendary motorsport and engineering firm in the heart of England for many years and have a tremendous relationship with a great deal of performance manufacturers. Subaru arguably one of the most, and as such they were often let loose with a few of their production models, this car in particular being one of them. The Prodrive Performance Pack turned everything that had already been turned up to 11 when this car was made into a WRX STi and turned it right the way up to about 150. Now, I've already told you that the Prodrive pack increased performance, but let me throw some figures at you. 265 horsepower became 305 in a staggering increase. 0 to 60 shot to just over 4.5 seconds, thanks to an ECU remap, a high-pressure fuel pump, and a sports catalyst exhaust, to name a few things. If you've heard a Subaru on the go before, you'll know it has a very distinct engine and exhaust note, and that's thanks to its boxer engine setup, a flat 4, which means that the pistons are actually going side to side rather than up and down due to the engine layout. In these earlier cars, a 2-litre boxer engine was installed. It wasn't until around 2006 where the 2.5-litre increased engine size was plonked in the front. Now, a lot of people seem to prefer this smaller capacity engine, thinking it fits a car like this a little bit better. The interior was quite a special place to be in an Impreza as well, especially a WRX STi. Obviously, you have the quintessential 1990s, early 2000s poor quality Japanese plastics here and there, but in this particular car, you get some really nice sports style seats with some STi badging, an STi steering wheel, and a few other tasty little gubbins. You've got some external auxiliary gauges, and in this particular car, a really nice metal finish Prodrive gear knob. It's a very comfortable place to be, and like with all four-door Imprezas, you have a great deal of room. This is a practical car, believe it or not, despite the massive spoiler and the gold wheels. A lot of people were using these as family cars because you've got a really good dynamic package, but you could get your kids and your shopping in the back. So, a definite bucket list car for me, this. What is this Subaru like to drive? We shall find out. Immediately smiling ear to ear. That sound is unmistakable. Oh, what a thing. I never had massive love for Subaru back in the day, but they've aged so gracefully and they're undeniably awesome now. It's a symphony of turbo noise and boxer engine all coming together to create this amazing soundtrack. It just provides an excellent experience in here. Road holding is exactly as you'd expect. This thing sticks to the road like glue. And what surprises me is that the ride isn't terrible. I was expecting with these bucket seats and, you know, the sporty Prodrive suspension setup of this particular car, that I'd be feeling pretty much every imperfection in the road. And don't get me wrong, this is not a perfect car. The ride isn't the best, but it's a lot better than I was anticipating. You could do a long journey in this and think you'd be quite comfortable at the end of it. Wow, I am like a kid in a sweet shop with this thing. There's so much torque in pretty much every gear. You could put your foot down in fourth on a small little B road like this one, and you would probably get up, take off, and it feels like you're going to leave the ground. Engine noise aside, it's actually quite quiet in here in terms of cabin creak. Japanese cars of this heritage tend to have a tendency to be made with the cheapest, creakiest plastics on the market, but this one isn't too bad. It all feels very solid and smart in here. My only real critique comes at points like this when I have to do a U-turn. This has had some aftermarket tight fitting side mirrors put in, and they are horrendous. You can't see anything out of them. Thankfully, visibility on the whole is actually rather good. What a fun thing. This is such an amazing day at the office. I'm really enjoying this car. A lot more than I thought I would. Big question, is it better than an Evo? Well, I've driven a few Evos. I've driven a 5, a 7 and an 8, and I think I can comfortably say the experience as a whole is miles better in a car like this. It's got a lot more fanfare about it, and if you're after that sort of thing, which I think if you're looking at a Subaru, you probably are, this is the car for you. The Evo is a lot more subdued and subtle in my opinion. Well, they say don't meet your heroes, but for anyone who spent their Sunday afternoons watching the World Rally on the TV, I can assure you this car lives up to the hype comfortably. It's an incredible thing to drive. There's such a wonderful experience when you get behind the wheel. There's a great deal of fanfare. You've got that excellent engine note, and it's just excellently dynamic. It really is one of the best driving performance cars I think you can get. At the moment, they're still quite good value for money in my opinion. As I'm sure you'll know, this is what people are buying these days. 90s, early 2000s Japanese icons and legends. So I think give it a few years and these are going to become unobtainium. So if you're looking for something like this, get into it rather quickly. Even if you don't get a Prodrive performance pack, the WRX STi in its own right is a very good car. And I think, as I say, the second generation is the one to have, though the earlier 22Bs and two-door cars seem to be demanding the premium at the moment. They're practical, they're fun to drive, enjoyable, there's very little lot to like, and as such, the Subaru Impreza WRX STi gets 2 thumbs up from me. Thank you very much for watching the video review of this undeniable Japanese automotive icon. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you like this sort of thing, please check out our other video reviews. And remember, if you have a classic car to sell, please get in touch with us at classiccarbuyer.co.uk. We'd love to hear from you. Bye-bye.